Hello guys, in the insert tab we can insert links such as hyperlinks, or we can insert actions. We can insert also text such as text box, header and footer. We can insert WordArt, date and time, slide number and object. Also we can insert media clips such as videos or audios. So to insert a hyperlink, let's say I want to insert a hyperlink on the following word. So I select the text, then I click on link, and this is the same option explained in Microsoft Word, where we can insert a link to an existing file or a web page, or we can insert a link to a place in this document such as a slide, for example. That means if I click on this link, it will redirect me to the selected slide. So let's say here I want to insert a link to Google. So here I need to write the URL address of Google, and here I need to specify that text to display, which is I need YouTube. So if I click OK now, here I have a link that if I follow it by holding the control and clicking on the mouse, it will redirect me to the YouTube. Here if I want to get the URL address of YouTube, I can copy this link from here, then here I need to paste the URL address. Now if I holding the control then clicking on the mouse, it will redirect me to the YouTube website. Now I can insert an action. So let's say here on the sound I want to apply an action. So if I click on action, I have two options here. The first option on mouse click event, and the second option is on mouse over. Mouse click means that I'm clicking on the mouse, which means left click. Mouse over, that means I'm moving the cursor over the text. So here I'm adding events. Let's say on mouse click, which means that if I click on this word, I need to specify an action. By default it's none. I can select a hyperlink too. So for example, I can add an action to jump, for example, to the last slide, to the first slide, to a custom slide. I can add a link to a URL address, let's say YouTube, to the LIU website, or I can add a link to a file or existing file on this computer. I can specify an action to run a program from my computer. So here I need to browse and select the program located in my computer. I can play a sound here. So if I click on this word here, I want to play a sound, for example this one. Now if I want to preview my actions here, I need to run the slideshow to test my actions. So if I click on the sound, an explosion sound is played. Now if I click on YouTube, the YouTube website will be open. So here the event is on mouse click. I can change it to mouse over, for example. On mouse over, which means when I move the cursor over the word here, I want to play a sound, for example a bomb sound. So let's preview it. I'm not clicking on the mouse, I'm only moving the cursor over this word, so a bomb sound is played. Now let's see how to insert date and time to our presentation. So from the insert tab, if I click on date and time, here if I need a date and time, I should enable this option here, date and time. I can specify a fixed date or a automatically updated date, so it will be updated and synced with the current date. If I need to insert, so for example the date and time, if I want to apply or insert a date and time to all my slides, to all these slides inside my document, I need to click on apply to all. So if I click on apply to all, now a date and time will be inserted in all my slides. Now if I want to insert a slide number, I can here enable the option slide number, and I can specify whether I want to insert a slide number to all my slides or only to the selected slide. So if I want to insert a slide number only to the selected slide, which is slide number 1, if I click on apply, now I have a slide number only displayed in the first slide. So let's say here I want to insert a slide number only to this slide, so I click on slide number and enable the option slide number, then click on apply, and a slide number will be inserted only to the in the selected slide. If I click on apply to all, the slide number will be inserted in all my slides inside this document. I can insert a WordArt inside my slide. So for example here I can choose any design. CSCI 200. I can customize my WordArt so for example here I can change the fill color, I can change the outline color, also the weight of the outline. I can change the style of the outline. Here I can add a shape effect. I can add a text fill or change the text fill color, the text outline, or I can apply a text effect such as reflection or glow. I can rotate also my word. These are explained also before in Microsoft Word. Now in the insert tab, I can insert media clips such as videos. So for example, in slide number 4, I want to insert a video. So if I click on video, I can insert an online video or a video from my device. So if I click on video on my PC, I can insert a video inside my PowerPoint presentation document. I can insert an audio file also. So if I click on audio, then audio on my PC, or I can record an audio inside the PowerPoint. So let's say I want to insert an audio here. So here we have inserted an audio inside the PowerPoint presentation. We can change the design or the theme of our presentation. So to do that, we click on the design tab and I can choose any predefined themes here. So let's say, for example, I can choose this one. Now if I click on this theme, it will be applied to all my slides. Now if I redo my work, Ctrl Z, if I right click on the theme, I can choose whether to apply the theme to all my slides or to apply this theme only to the selected slide, which means to the slide number 1. So if I click apply to the selected slides only, the theme now is applied only to the first slide. I can apply another theme to the other slides, for example here. Now if I click on apply to all slides, the theme will be applied to all my slides. Now in the slide size, if I click on custom slide size, I can customize the size of my slides, and also I can customize or change the orientation of my slides from portrait to landscape. By default it's landscape. I can change it to portrait. Now if I click on format background, here I can hide the graphics, the background graphics from this option. Here in the left section, all the slides are displayed. I can organize my slides in this way, drag and drop. So here, for example, I can organize the slide number 4. I can move it to the position 2. I can delete a slide. So if I right click on this slide, I can choose to delete this slide. Now if I want to copy a slide or duplicate a slide, for example this one, if I click on duplicate a slide, now this slide is duplicated. So to delete a slide, right click, delete a slide. Here I can insert a new slide after slide number 4. If I right click on this slide, then click on a new slide, now a new slide will be inserted after the slide number 4. We can change the layout of any slide by clicking on layout. So here, for example, I want a blank slide. So we can organize our slide, we can add a new slide, we can delete a slide, or we can duplicate a slide. Now let's talk about slides transitions. So I can add a transition effect from a slide to another slide. So it's an animation or effect is displayed when I move from a slide to another slide in the slide show. So let's say here I want to add a transition effect to the slide number 2. I can choose the effect here from the available effects. So for example, this one, the curtain effect. I can change the duration of the effect, which means the time it takes to display. I can increase or decrease this time. So this effect, the curtain effect, will be displayed within 6 seconds. I can choose to play a sound when I'm applying or when I'm playing this transition. So I can play also a sound. I can choose here whether to apply this transition effect to all my slides. So if I click on apply to all, now this transition will be applied to all my slides inside this document. Now I can choose whether to play this transition on mouse click or after a certain time. So if I choose on mouse click, so let's say here the default one on mouse click, let's play the slideshow. Now this is the slide 1 and I have inserted a transition to the slide 2. The slide 2 now will not be shown except when I click on the mouse or on the arrow. So to display the slide number 2, we choose the option to play the transition on mouse click. Now if I click on the mouse, the transition will be played before displaying the slide number 2. But here, if I change this option from on mouse click to after, for example, after 3 seconds, now if I play the slideshow from the beginning, after so the after option, it allow me to move to the next slide after a certain time. So for example here, if I specify to move to the next slide after 3 seconds, now if I play the slideshow, this slide will be displayed, and after 3 seconds it will move or it will move to the next slide. So on mouse click, we choose whether to move to the advanced slide on mouse click, which means when I click on the mouse, or I can specify to move to the next slide after a certain time. Now let's say here I can add a animation, a transition. I can play a sound. I can add a transition duration, and I can choose whether to advance to the next slide on mouse click or after a certain time. So if I run the slideshow from the first slide, now if I click on the mouse, the transition of the second slide will be played here. After 3 seconds, it will advance to the third slide and play the transition of the third slide. Now let's explain the animations. So the transitions are applied on the slides. The animation effects will be applied on the objects inside a slide. So here, for example, I can animate my text objects inside slide number 2. So if I want to animate this word, for example, here in the animation tab, I need to click on add animation. We have here the entrance animations, the emphasis animations, and the exit animation. The entrance animation are animation played when I am entering a slide, while the exit animation will be played when I'm leaving a slide. So let's add an entrance animation to the selected text. For example, the fly-in effect. Here, let's add another entrance animation to the second text and another entrance animation to the third text. Now, if I click here on the animation number, this is the order of the animation. So number 1, which means this will be played first, this will be played next, and this third one will be played. Now I can customize the animation. Here I can choose whether to run this animation or start this animation on clicking on the mouse. I can change the duration of the animation. That means the animation now, the playing duration is 1 second. I can add a delay, an animation delay, so the animation will be delayed to played after the specified time here. So play the animation after a certain number of seconds. I can delay the playing of a animation. So for example, the animation 2, I can choose whether to place this animation on click, or I can choose to play it with the previous one, which means with the first animation. So if I click with previous, now both are numbered 1 because they will be played together at the same time. I can choose to play this animation after previous. That means this animation will be played after finish playing the first animation. So it will be played after the previous one, and this one it will be played only if I click on the mouse or on the arrow on the keyboard. Now let's test these animations. If I click on the slideshow, now the first animation, it will be played on click, which means the animation will be played when I click on the mouse. So here the animation will be played only when I click on the mouse. So this is the first animation. This is the next animation, and this is the third one. Now here, if I choose to run this animation with the previous one, with the first animation, now if I run the slideshow, then click to display the first one, and the second one will be displayed also at the same time with the first animation. Now I need to click on the mouse to display the third animations. These are an entrance animations. So let's change this here to run on click. Now to see my animations, I can click on the animation pane here. I can see all the animation applied to the text inside my slide. I can change the order of the animations. So for example, the third animation, I can move it earlier. So for example, to the first place. Now this animation will be played first. It's numbered 1. The next animation will be played is this one, number 2, and this is the third animation. So if I run the slideshow now, the first animation that will be shown is the third one, the PowerPoint. Now this is the second animation, and this is the third animation. So here I can reorder my animations. Now these are the entrance animations that will be played when I enter a slide. Now let's add an exit animation to the text objects that will be played when I'm exiting a slide or moving to the next slide. So for example here, the same text, I want to add an entrance animation and an exit animation. So we have applied an entrance animation. Let's see how to add an exit animation. To add another animation, we need to click on add animation. Then here I need to specify the exit animation. The same for the other text. I want to insert exit animation, and here I want to insert also exit animation. Also here the same, I can choose whether to play this animation on click on the mouse or with the previous or after the previous animation. I can change the duration time, and I can delay my animation, which means I add a delay to start, to wait a time after or before playing this animation. We can also reorder the animation or change the order of the animation. So let's run now the slideshow. I click the mouse to play my animations because I'm choosing the option on click. Now these are the entrance animations. Now I finished displaying my content. I want to move to the next slide. Now the exit animation will be played. These are the exit animation, and now we are in the slide number 3. Now if we want to run the slideshow, we can click on this button here that run the slideshow from the current position, which means I'm running the slideshow from here, slide 2. Now if I click on slideshow here tab, we can choose whether to run the slideshow from the beginning. So for example, if I'm selecting now the slide number 3 and click on from the beginning, the slideshow will be run from the slide number 1, from the beginning of the document. Now to exit the slideshow, we click on the escape on the keyboard. So I can choose to run the slideshow from the beginning or from the current slide. We can customize the slideshow. So if I click on setup slideshow here, I can customize the slideshow. For example, here the show slides, I can show all my slides, or I can select the slides that should be displayed only in the slideshow. I have here an important option, which is in the show option, loop continuously until escape. So if I select this option, the slideshow will be looped, which means if I end the slideshow or I finish the slideshow. So let's run the slideshow. I leave it the default option, slide number 1, 2, now let's run all the slides. The default option, when I finish displaying all the slides in the slideshow, the slideshow will be finished and it will stop the slideshow. I can choose here from the setup slideshow option to loop this slideshow until I click on escape on the keyboard, which means if I move in the slideshow and finish all the slides, the slideshow will not exit. It will return to the first slide. This is the loop. So here, let's delete these slides. Now if I run the slideshow from the beginning, now let's browse the slideshow. This is the slide number 2. The slide number 3. Here I have a sound in this slide. So the slide number 4, here I have a video. Okay, now this is the last slide. Now I'm returning to the first slide and not exiting the slideshow because I clicked on the option to loop continuously until escape. So the slideshow will be displayed continuously or infinitely. When we hit the last slide, we will return to the first slide and to exit the slideshow we need to click on the escape on the keyboard to exit the slideshow. So escape to exit the slideshow. Now let's insert a new slide here. We can embed objects or files such as Microsoft Word documents or Microsoft Excel documents inside PowerPoint or inside each others. So I can insert a Word document inside the PowerPoint presentation. I can insert a Word document, Excel document. I can insert an Excel document inside Word. So let's see how to do that. Now in the Insert tab here, if I click on Object, I can choose whether to create a new object, a new file. So for example, Microsoft Excel file, Microsoft PowerPoint, Microsoft Word file, or if I want to display a pre-created file or an existing file, if I click on Create from File, here I need to browse to select the file that I want to embed inside my Microsoft PowerPoint. For example, a Word file. Now if I click on OK here, then OK. Now the Microsoft Word file is embedded inside my presentation. So here, this document, I can edit it. But it will be edited. Here, also in the Insert Objects, let's insert an Excel. Okay, here I have an option link. This will insert a picture of the file content inside my slide. The picture will be a shortcut to the file, so that changes to the file, to the original file, will be reflected inside my presentation. So if I choose to add a link between the original file and the picture here displayed inside my slide, so any changes applied to the original file will be automatically applied here inside my slide or the PowerPoint presentation. So if I insert, for example, this Excel file, if I made the changes inside the original Excel file, if I change the numbers or anything, automatically, because we add a link between the original file and the content displayed here, automatically the changes will be made. Now let's add a new slide and insert an object, create from file. Let's say the Word file. Here I can choose to add a link, which means the data will be automatically synchronized. I can choose here to display this object as icon only, so it will be a link. If I click on this icon, it will open the file with, for example, Microsoft Word. I can customize the icon or change the icon style. Now if I click on OK, here the object is displayed as icon. Now if I run the slideshow, Now if we double click on this file, the original file will be opened with Microsoft Word. So we can insert or embed the Microsoft Word document inside PowerPoint, or Excel inside PowerPoint, or Excel inside Word. All are the same. We can make this object or make a link between the original file and the displayed content here inside the PowerPoint, or we can insert an object, a document, Word document, as an icon here. So if we double click on this icon, we will open the original document with the Microsoft Word in this case.